I wanted to just talk about a couple of things that I noticed in the news and lately, one of which caught my attention, and that is when it talks about the image of the beast that's placed in the Holy of Holies, and it says that the image is made to speak. Well, something happened with King Charles III that kind of, I was thinking, it does not have to be an AI, because in our day and age, of course, we want the big technology, and we're thinking the big technology is what's going to happen in the temple. But what if it's simple technology? What if it is what just happened with King Charles when he showed an image online of himself? He had an image, and then there was an audio message that was broadcast, the speech that the king gave, and his voice was echoing in the halls of the cathedral. And, it just kind of hit me, that the king showed this image, and then his voice was speaking. And I just thought, what if it's something simple like that? That the king will show his image, and then his voice will be made to speak within the third temple in the Holy of Holies, and it will be some sort of message of peace and unity and all of that. I kind of got the chills when I heard his voice echoing in the cathedral, and there it was in the middle of a church. So this could possibly be just a simple technology, not necessarily an AI robot that we're thinking that it could be. It could just be something very, very quick and simple that they could set up. In the scripture where it talks about that the Antichrist will elevate himself or exalt himself above all that's called God or is worshipped as God, well, here's a connection to that when they do the red heifer ceremony, they do believe that it elevates them. And elevate is the same word basically in meaning as exalt. And they feel like the red heifer, when they're purified, supposedly, with that, which can never happen, but that's what they believe, that it will exalt them to a different level. So if the king would be a participant in that, or however that's going to go down, that could explain that verse about him exalting himself. Because if he's purified with the ashes of the red heifer, they are considered to be in an elevated state. And elevated, like I just said, means the same thing as exalted. So it takes them to an elevated level that they were not at before. So one of the third things that I wanted to mention is, I don't know if you saw the video of Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz from Israel 365 going on a rant about the red heifer and how CBS got the ramp thing wrong with showing that it's not even kosher for offering any sacrifices on, and they showed this educational ramp with altar that's not really going to be used for anything. So CBS got that wrong. I came back and made some corrections when I found that out in another video, and all they need is to have a wood pyre to burn the red heifer on, not an altar. But a Passover sacrifice would be done on a makeshift stone altar, and they could set it up pretty quickly to do that. So Adam was going off all of the basically Christians, Gentiles that don't know Hebrew, that don't know anything about the red heifer. And he said, anybody that says that the red heifer ceremony is about to happen is lying. So then in the comments section, somebody said, so you're not going to do it at Passover? And all he would say was, I didn't say that, but what I am saying is that it will happen when it's time and when everything is in place. So instead of performing the ceremony, they had a conference, as I'm sure you've already heard by now, in Shiloh, about the red heifer situation. And so that's what took place on the holiday, the Sabbath of the Para Aduma, which they call it, the red heifer. So it didn't happen then. And he's saying it may not even happen at Passover. So what's interesting is that I've noticed that they very much love to make Gentiles or Christians feel like they're stupid and don't know anything. If you haven't talked to the Temple Institute, or, you don't know Hebrew. But, we have Hebrew sources that we look at and research on these things. Everything that I've shown in my videos was from a Hebrew source, from rabbis' own mouths. And so I don't know why he's saying this, unless it has to do with the fact that maybe they're mad or jealous about what we're saying about Jesus. And he did say that he does not believe in Jesus down below, which is too bad, because, they're more interested in a red heifer than they are in the eternal King of Judah to sit upon the throne of David forever. So I find that very strange. But then we know that their eyes are partially blinded until the fullness of the Gentiles comes in. I pray for Adam that he will see the truth about Jesus, and, I have no control over that. He has a lot of good prophetic articles and everything, but, he was really letting people have it. I know that I saw that there was one pastor that was making all these comparisons to the red heifer to Jesus, so maybe that's what set him off. I don't really know, but, I could show him some things that would make him a believer. And it's not through me, it's through the Holy Spirit showing it. And, it's incredible stuff. So basically he said that they'll do the ceremony when everything's in place and everything's ready. And then, of course, the other thing he denounces is that it has anything to do with the building of the third temple. But the reason why all of us have been reporting that it does is because not only do the rabbi sages say so, but they also, flick the blood towards the temple, or wherever the temple's going to be when they do the red heifer ceremony. And since it starts the sacrificial system up, then obviously it would be cause for building the temple so that they could put a permanent altar up there and do this sacrificial system that they want to do. And of course, it is the Sanhedrin that wants to re-implement all of that from ancient times, and not the conservatives and not the Reformed Jews. So it's going to become a conflict, I believe, between Jews themselves. And one of the things that's been in the news lately is that the ultra-Orthodox did not want the yeshiva boys to have to fight in the IDF, and that now they're overturning those laws and trying to make it where the ultra-Orthodox have to fight in battles in the IDF. So there's a lot of protesting going on from the ultra-Orthodox community regarding that. And, what's interesting to me about that is that, King David was a big warrior and slew Goliath, and he had killed his tens of thousands, and Saul's killed his thousands. So these kings of Judah, Saul was the king of Benjamin, and, David was of Judah, and so they fought the battles. So I don't know why these people think that they are exempt from having to fight any battles. So that's in the news. Now, one more thing I want to mention is how odd it is that it seems like all of these leaders are currently in a weak position. You had Netanyahu that just had the surgery for hernia. You have King Charles III that's going through chemotherapy. And, of course, Kate Middleton. And you have Joe Biden, who's not cognitively with it. So all of these leaders are currently sort of in a weak state and not doing well with their health. So this is going to be extremely interesting to see how this all plays out. Now, if they don't do the red heifer ceremony this spring, they have to actually do and perform this before the red heifers reach a certain age, because after that they are considered not usable for the ceremony. It has to be, the red heifer, is a calf. So it has to be under 3 years of age. In fact, I had actually read from a Jewish source that it has to be 2 years and 1 month old, which they are now. So they couldn't wait much longer to do the ceremony, or it would be null and void, basically. So the Sanhedrin is the one that picks the king to sit upon the throne of Judah. And all they have to do is vote on it, and they would just put the king basically in place. It doesn't have to be a whole lot of hoopla, and, it doesn't have to be a big ordeal. So this could definitely still happen. And because King Charles has all of the emblems that, I've discussed my own info, and I showed you about Tim Cohen's book and everything. And it's incredible that nobody else in history has all of those emblems like he does. Not even William. So it's interesting that Passover is later than usual on the calendar because we are in a leap year. So the Jews added a second month of Adar, which is called Adar 2, to the calendar, which puts Passover down starting at April 22nd. It goes for that week there. That's why I really didn't celebrate too much this weekend, because Jesus was truly resurrected 3 days and 3 nights after Passover, after Nisan 14. So April 22nd is Nisan 14. So Jesus is resurrected. He's in the tomb on the 15th, and he's resurrected on the 17th of Nisan. So that's truly when the resurrection happened. And in my book, that's when I want to celebrate it. Otherwise, they're throwing the church completely off by putting it on a date and calling it Ishtar, Easter, which we don't want to celebrate. And it is important because Jesus fulfilled everything on the specific moed, the appointed times of God, and it's like they're trying to throw it off by celebrating on a day that isn't the true day. So there's a lot of protesting in Israel right now over, some of the families of the October 7th massacre. They want Benjamin Netanyahu ousted, and there's all kinds of protesting going on. So that was the latest news I saw about the red heifer, is just what Adam said, and how he was going off on the Christians and Gentiles that are stupid, so to speak, that don't know what they're talking about because they're not Hebrews. So that's really interesting because there's so many Jewish sources, rabbinical sources, that, help us to see the truth of what's going on. Why he said that it may not happen at Passover, I have no idea. I don't know whether they're trying to delay it because of the attention that it got with Hamas and some of these groups that are against them. So who knows? Maybe it's all a diversion. We're just waiting and watching for the Lord to come. Now, that brings up another point. So one more thing I wanted to mention is that the Lord said that those who are watching would be blessed. Well, the reason why I wanted to celebrate on the right day is because Passover night is the night of watching for the redemption. And the Jews all know this, but the church doesn't have a clue. So when Jesus was telling the disciples in the Garden of Gethsemane, couldn't you just watch 1 hour? And he kept coming back to them. And then he said, take your rest, take your sleep now. He knew that he was going to have to leave and come back 2,000 years later because they were not all ready for the redemption, and not all of them were watching for the Lord to suddenly appear in the redemption and the resurrection. So, ironically, people were resurrected when Jesus, the Messiah, was resurrected, and they went into the city and were seen by, I think, over 500. And we kind of know who those people are because it says that the Queen of Sheba and the men of Nineveh would rise with this generation and condemn it, the one that happened when Jesus was crucified. And they were resurrected at that time. The night of watching is something that Lord wants us to do. It's a very specific night. And if we're celebrating on Easter, who's going to be watching on the night of watching? Probably not very many people in the church. And that had me wondering, could that be why, since the calendar is changed, why it says no one knows the day or the hour? So that kind of does have to do with something happening with the judgment in the solar system and all that, I believe. But if we're watching and we know when the night of watching is, that it's a very specific night for the redemption and for God to appear suddenly to give us salvation, take us away, then we need to be watching on that night particularly. And Jesus gave all kinds of clues that is the night of watching on Passover night. And he was in the Garden of Gethsemane telling them to watch. So if you're celebrating this past Sunday as Resurrection Sunday, by the time Passover comes, you're not really paying attention to the night of watching, are you? And that's why I want to have my celebration at the right time. And even if the whole world is celebrating on a completely different day, they're not going to be aware of the night of watching. So it's a really important thing, and I just wanted to bring these thoughts to you and let you know about some things that are happening. So I guess I'll see you in the next video. Please give a like, and thank you for your blessings for my channel. It's greatly needed and much appreciated. And please be praying that I can get out of this hotel. I want to get out of here pretty much immediately this spring. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.